Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bruce McDonald, and this is the Talamanca Review. And one sec, I just got to get a coffee. And I'm back with the most unprofessional podcast on the internet, the Talamanca Review. Although I've fixed the whole sound level problem, so it's not low when I start the podcast, so I have to pat myself on the back for that. Yeah, busy week for Bruce. And a lot of things coming together. I'm very happy about that. The usual stuff. Everything's good in my life, and I hope and wish the same is true for you, that everything is good in your life. And everything is always good when you understand life. Even when somehow the path seems thorny, it's still good. Life's always good. And I guess that's the foundation of gratitude. And I have it, and I hope you do too. So tonight I want to just do a podcast. I'm just going to call it Balancing Act, okay? And every once in a while I like to do one of these podcasts that is, much more heart-centric and part of a much larger context. And the reason I feel obligated to do these podcasts from time to time, intuitively guided, is because, let's be honest, the Talamanca Review takes on a lot of really negative stuff. And I don't want that to be my footprint in the people that I touch, I reach out to, I communicate with. I want my overall message to be much more positive than that, because it is positive, even with all of the negativity and oscuridad. I'll let you look that up. It's a Spanish word. Well, I'll tell you, it means darkness. But it's my belief that that darkness is something we have to collectively go through. There's other podcasters out there helping people to cope with new levels of consciousness and balance out after they've gone through the darkness. But we do what we know, right? If you're a woodworker, you work with wood. You don't work with stone. You don't work with metal. If you're a blacksmith, you work with metal. And I work with darkness because the life path, experiences, and imprint of this life, for me, has been one about balancing out darkness. Now, without actually having an internal remembrance of a life proximate to this one, in which this darkness was practiced by me, necessitating the trials and tribulations I went through in this life, I am nonetheless certain that this is the case. That tremendous darkness, oscuridad, was a part of my life, for a part of my existence. Remember the sewing machine metaphor? Probably 5 or 10 stitches in the last 2,000 years have been in this darkness. At what level, I don't know for sure, but even if you stick a little toe in it, you're in it. And that's one of the things I want to explain and distill for you tonight. There's this idea in spirituality that a little bit of something is all of something. We see it in this idea of the drop of water and the oceans of water. Drop is an individual human life, and the oceans are, and underground water are the creator. And if you realize you are that drop of water, you immediately assimilate with the ocean, and you have the expansiveness of the ocean. And the same is true for darkness. So if you have a little bit of darkness in your life, there will be an endless space of darkness in your life. Okay? And you have to learn, I suppose, to cope with that. This is becoming a little confusing. I'm not sure I'm expressing myself properly. What we do is more important now than ever. There are many people who believe that what they do has no effect on their life. Do means first economy. Breath, body, supplements, nutrition, water, credits, fiat notes. What we do, how do we do in this world? What do we do in this world? And this is an aspect of our lives that not many of us pay attention to. And yet it is important. I think more important than people think. It's important because what we put into the world is our liability. This is something no religion on the planet teaches. Perhaps indirectly, but no modern theologian or spiritual teacher has contextualized it this way before, to the best of my understanding. And the reason for that is the Western system is what we do in the world, and the Eastern system is retracting from the world. This has been discussed here on the Talamanca Review numerous times. Now, this is a middle path argument. And so I split the middle between the Eastern retraction from the world, which is part of the contemplative process, which I do on a daily basis, and I hope you do too. It's very beneficial to just spend time in yourself without sleeping. Shut down the senses and just spend time with yourself. See yourself from the inside. If it's difficult to be there, you have problems. If it's peaceful to sit in silence with your eyes closed, you're doing well. All is well. Practice. Don't give up. Tension inside is the same as the tension of sore muscles when you work out. You're building something, you're building self, you're building presence, you're building that part of yourself that can connect with the whole, that you're building toward the drop, being the drop, the self that connects with the overself. It's very important. Notice how I'm going out of my way to use non-traditional, simple language, because as soon as you say a word, people are cued. Words are powerful, powerful things. The process of spending time in yourself is that simple. We don't have to give it a special name. We don't have to be pundits, the origin of which is the learned man, the Hindu version of the Pharisee, understands those scriptures, pundit, but still has no self, has no awareness of the drop, and therefore no awareness of the ocean. Lost, yet constantly rhyming couplets. Arajan said, when Shiva said to Arajan, Eastern version of the biblical scholar, scholarship has nothing to do with self-attainment. Antithesis, opposite, diametric, opposite. Self is simplicity. You do not need to be a saint to experience yourself. It's a myth, the myth of the perfect man. A myth, again, structured by the myth makers. And the myth makers are magicians of a sort. High magicians, actually. Most of magic operates in language. Language traps energy. Math releases it, language traps it. The apparition of these faces in the metro. Petals on a wet black bough. Pound trapped the energy in those words. You feel it. Stunning. Trapped energy. Preserved energy. The way you would preserve pickles in a jar. So language is this preservation technology. And so to break the bondage of myth, you have to stop wording, stop talking in your head. Now lately, and I'm not sure why, I never am. Never am, because that would take some thinking. It just is. Lately, a wave of optimism has poured over me. An optimism I haven't felt in decades. I've felt love, I've felt presence, I have felt being. Those things are not optimistic. Optimism is a timely thing. Optimism is fishing into the future. And so optimism for me is related to the fate of humanity. Lately, a wave of optimism has washed over me. Out of nowhere, like a tsunami. I see it now. I see this pupation. I see this chrysalis. I see the butterfly that comes out of it in the future. And it's beautiful. And the time of chrysalis, the time of pupation, is absolutely necessary. Did you know that the word imago, I-M-A-G-O, imago, is the final state of pupation for an insect? So the butterfly is the imago. And while we're here, and especially when we podcast, words are needed. I have to find these words to express the energy I feel. Not always easy. Joyous, satisfactory, satisfying. The chrysalis we're in now is one of language. Chrysalis, in the metaphor of the butterfly, is generally some form of cotton or silk or fabric that the caterpillar weaves. Is it not amazing that a living thing can transmute itself to that degree, from a caterpillar to a butterfly? And moths. The moths in the tropics, the moths in Costa Rica, are so beautiful and colorful, dark. The general wing structure is gray, but very often on top of that gray characteristic of the moth, there can be beautiful, beautiful colors, especially blues, dark colors, generally dark. You do not see bright colors on night moths. Well, there really aren't too many kinds of moth other than night moth. And the butterflies and the moths here are just beautiful. Some of the moths are so beautiful I've started calling them night butterflies. They're just gorgeous, and they can be as big as your hand. Never seen anything like it in your life, that nature would produce something like this. Why? Who knows? But it's a word, right? There was a line I attributed to a schizophrenic character in God is an Economist. And the schizophrenic says a tree is a word. And the person he's talking to says, you mean the word tree? And the schizophrenic says, no, the tree is the word. The tree is a word in something else's language. The idea that this reality is speaking to us through this nature, and it is. I wholeheartedly reject the idea of this being a fallen world. I wholeheartedly reject it in all of its forms. It is a chrysalis, it is a pupation, often undertaken individually. And this time, collectively. The cascading cycles that are washing up on the shores of life now is a series of incomprehensible and illogical wave patterns in an ocean is mind-boggling. minor cycles in the centuries and less minor cycles in the millennia, and then larger cycles in the tens of millennias, and then one big cycle wrapping up the whole thing that is billions of years or millions of years old, about the fate of this human race and what is going to become of us. And it's beautiful if you feel it. It's beautiful what's coming. And there's nothing to fear. If you choose fear, fear will be amplified in you. If you choose hope, hope will be amplified in you. Now remember, I'm speaking about the fate of the human race, the species, amidst the cacophony of theories and counter-theories out there. It's a 138-year cycle. It's a graduation. We're going to 5D. It's the judgment. Who's going in the lake of fire? Who's going to heaven? So many stories, so many myths. All of these words trying to find circumnavigation of an energetic concept. But none of them suffice. None of them suffice. Words are very, very limited at the end of the day. Very, very few people learn to use words well. Language is dissipating. Language is profoundly dissipating as a result of absence of reading, study of language. There's all these sub-idioms now, linguistic idioms. This English has broken into so many sub-idioms now. You've got the Ebonics of the black people. You've got a South Indian English. You've got a Chinese English. You've got a Middle Eastern English. And they all have inflections and utilities that are hybridized expressions, the new language still grafted to the old thinking patterns of the old language. But we still have English, don't we? They tell us, through the propaganda, that this race of people who speak the English language are receding from influence in the world. But I don't think so. I don't think so at all. You see, to borrow another passage from God as an economist, the white man has become a spiritual entity now. You can be a 30-year-old Guatemalan bank teller, but you're a white man. Because the white man, the spirit of the white man, has entered into you. It's funny the way it's all working now. All these people criticizing white culture, and yet being more white than white people. It's mind-boggling. The hypocrisy of it. You know, I remember reading a quote just last week from a New York Times columnist. Brown man. Brown in the Indian subcontinent, meaning of brown. Bangladesh, Pakistan, India. And he was just ripping on the white man. And he published this in the New York Times. He's going, you know, you've lost. The white man is going away. Nobody wants to be a white man anymore. You know, our music is better, our culture is better, our food is better. He just went on and on and on. It was an unbelievable racist rant. And I remember reading it and going, buddy, you're a white man. Welcome to the tribe. That's what we used to do, is shit on other people. That's what the British did. Welcome to the tribe. And the whole time he's pretending that white is bad, he's demonstrating his white creds. It's mind-boggling. This hypocrisy is everywhere now. It's a mental disease, right? It's a mental disease. It's not grounded in any reality whatsoever. I wonder if any of these people have thought through the fall of the white man. What's going to happen when the white man goes away in Canada? Canada will break up into ethnic populations. Chinese will take British Columbia. The Indians will take North British Columbia, mainly Sikhs. The Hindus will take Northern Toronto. The parliament will be a mess. It'll be a bunch of subcultures. The political system will fracture into multiple parties like Italy. And there will be a grand argument about what should be the official language of Canada. Should it be Hindi? Should it be Urdu? Should it be Punjabi? Should it be Mandarin? Should it be Cantonese? They're never going to be able to figure this out. The way our societies have been set up, they can't be deconstructed. I don't think anybody's thought this through. Boy, would I ever love to see an intelligent person of color articulate what I'm articulating tonight, and to come to the realization they're being played, because they're being played. This is the Kalergi plan to a letter, right? Because the moment the white man's gone and the balancing influence of the white man, what happens? Well, suddenly it's like Kashmir. Endless fighting. Suddenly it's like Cyprus with the Turks and the Greeks. Everybody wants to shit on the white man, but in this constant shitting on the white man, nobody stops to remember the good things that the white man did. And there are many, many. I want to tell you a little story now. When God is an Economist was published in Canada, my Canadian publisher who speaks French, and obviously having a French province, and having French as a second official language in Canada, the literary houses in Canada have formed relationships with the literary houses in Paris. And my publisher, who was a small boutique publisher, had opportunity and liberty to send one manuscript a year to the most notable French literary press. Small press, but we're talking old press. See, when we think of literature, we only think in terms of our language, right? We think in terms of Shakespeare. We think in terms of Yeats. We think in terms of Wallace Stevens. But all Western cultures have their literary traditions. Italy has its writers. Portugal has theirs. Dante Alighieri, the Inferno. French literature has had many exceptional writers. Baudelaire, Season in Hell, early 20th century. Very, very forward-looking poetry. Michael Houellebecq is the latest literary sensation of the last 20 years or so in France and around the world through translation. You would do yourself a tremendous favor to get a copy of The Elementary Particles by Michael Houellebecq. Small novel, slightly bigger than a novella, but a small novel. Very readable. You could be finished in a weekend. It will change your life. So my publisher, the year I published with him, he chose my manuscript to send to France. Now, when he does this, there's no guarantee the French press is going to take the manuscript, because it has to be translated for one thing, right? If it was written in English. But he has published a few novels with them. So he told me, he said, Bruce, this year I'm sending your book. I said, thank you very much. And months went by, and months and months and months. And my publisher kept me informed about what was going on. And he said, there's over a dozen editors who have to read it, Bruce. Some of them work in universities, in literature departments, French universities. I think one of the editors worked at the Louvre. I'm not making hand to God. This is my life, okay? This is God as an economist. So about 10 months, close to a year later, we hear back from these guys. And the word was, and I saw the letter, they said this has to be one of the most brilliant novels we've read in years. However, after considerable negotiation amongst ourselves, we've decided we can't publish it. And the reason they gave was that it was so caustic that they feared it could create civil unrest in France. My novel. So, all this stuff people are going through now, I went through it 25 years ago when I produced a novel called God as an Economist. And one of the principal characters is a recently paroled Mohawk native in Canada. Monster of a human being. Cobb. And he did time for cigarette smuggling, or what is ostensibly a tax crime. Right? Because the natives, they make their own cigarettes and they sell them in Canada and they don't pay taxes. And in Canada, a pack of cigarettes is about 80% tax and 20% manufacturer's price, right? Or retail price. The wholesale price is even a fraction of retail. But after you hit the retail boundary, the remaining 80% is excise and luxury taxes, right? And this character, Cobb, he just rips through the whole white man's world. And that's how he habitually refers to it in his internal monologues in the chapters given to him. And it's amazing how prescient it all was, right? And so the reality I imagined is the reality we're living now 20, 25 years later. And the same imagination that produced that book has now forecast the future again, but not as a book, as a podcast. And the future we're going into is beautiful. The characteristics of the chrysalis are the meat and bones of the Talamanca Review, the very body of the chrysalis, the pupa. The fabric we've spun around ourselves that we have to break out of. This is what I usually talk about. And it's necessary because it's confusing to a lot of people. It's confusing and frightening to a lot of people. I suppose that once we're in the chrysalis, we're living within our own dream. And when we're in our own dream, we have to confront our demons. And that's what this whole thing is about in the last set of books I've written. It's what it's all about. Light of Darkness, Stardust Ranch, Devil in Us. The trilogy that explains the chrysalis, the pupa. Because people need to know. Because when you face your demon, when your demon produces itself in the world paranormally, and your demon can do that because your consciousness can transform reality, and the demon in your unconscious is using the body as agency to create the world around you. And we're hitting a point in the frequency now where that will manifest as paranormal activity. But it will really be the unconscious manifestation of the individual, not a real external demon. Like Creeper, my muse for the devil in us. He was a real demon. But most of us, our demons are self-created. They're self-created. But these things take on a life of their own, right? There's so many demons in the world now. Yesterday I alluded to something that I was going to talk about. This is still a balancing podcast. Maybe I should avoid the sodomite topic tonight, because this is, after all, a balancing podcast. But the overarching message is that we're going into positivity. We're absolutely going into an age of unparalleled positivity. And when the chrysalis opens up and we emerge as butterflies, we are going to be receptive to much higher energies in the life space. We're not going to be fully realized beings, but we're going to be more further evolved. More further is a redundancy. Further evolved down the road of this experiment that's been incubating on this planet for millennia. John Edmonds used to habitually refer to this planet as a hothouse, just the way we may grow tomatoes in a hothouse or a greenhouse, you know. Throw up a metal or a wood frame and throw 3mm polypropylene over it, and you can grow tomatoes right to the first snow. It stays sufficiently warm in there. Hothouse. But that's changing. This place down here, this world, this is not like any other place in the universe. I promise you that. I know this. I don't even know how I know this. I just know it. This is a God factory. This planet produces gods. It does, and I'm not being blasphemous when I say that. This planet produces gods. That's what the whole refinement process down here is about. That is what the high causality frequency is about. We think we get away with things down here. No, we don't. Oh, Bruce, if there was a God, how can so-and-so do all of this? How could these people do what they've been doing to us? Whoever these people might be. My answer? Just wait. Everything rebalances itself. This system down here is a non-tipping boat. It may go over, but it will right itself naturally. It's a non-tipping boat. It may just seem, and everything that makes us think that we're going under, that we're sinking, is just stupidity and absence of perspective. This is a non-tipping boat. We're not going anywhere. Everything gets righted. Certain kinds of actions, especially if they're multidimensional, rooted in magical principles, that causal account takes a little bit longer to resolve itself because it's multidimensional. It goes more into an astral timeline, which is like a couple thousand years. Okay? Remember, the astral body dies too. We get new astral bodies every 1,000 to 3,000 years, depending on how we wear them out, just like we can wear out our physical body. Your astral body is not your soul. It's not the drop that goes back into the ocean. It's just a sleeve that you live inside of, like the physical body. So many people are fascinated by the astral and the astral body. I couldn't give a bigger shit. The less time I spend on the astral, the better. It's largely a hellhole of incoherent vibrations and frequencies. Some pleasant places, some really bad places. Not Not a landing spot at all. You want to go way higher than that. Way higher. If you have any self-respect. There's a lot of cultural causal contracts coming due now. Behaviors that we've allowed to fester in our society, which are beginning to show their true colors. Apparently, the way my muse is directing me tonight, this is an unavoidable topic, so here we go. Homosexuality, natural phenomenon in the human race. There hasn't been a human culture in history that has not recorded it. But as I've said before, its natural frequency, and I don't mean frequency as a wave of sound here, I mean occurrence. Its natural frequency is about 1%, 1 in 100. We're way beyond that now. And this mutation is something curious to me. I couldn't help but notice, and it's been recently pointed out to me by connecting a few dots, that almost everybody involved in the artificial intelligence movement is gay and Jewish. What are the chances? Okay? Homosexuality, although I would say that in its natural frequency, it's natural. It's an aberration that happens like albinos. It happens. You can't be prejudiced about this. You can't say to a genuinely gay person, you're going to hell. You're being insensitive. But what does the negative force do? And the negative force wants to denaturalize and deharmonize the human experience. That's about everything we're going through. The city living, the massive magnetic EMF and RF waves hitting you. They're so bad now that if you live on the top floor of a condominium building and the condominium leaseholders rent the roof out to satellite companies to bounce signals for telephone service and cell service and other forms of wave, studies have been done showing that you're multiple times more likely to develop brain cancer living on the top floor of a condominium that rents those dishes, satellite dishes, out to companies. So we know that these waves are bad for us. We know that the cultural environment of digital media is bad for us. It's becoming an addiction. It's over here big time now. You take a bus to San Jose, literally everybody on the bus is on their phone. Okay? Me too. I'll throw in some earpods and listen to a podcast. But I think it's the da-da-da-da-da-da that's really bad. When you're just listening to a podcast, I don't think it's that bad, depending on which podcast you listen to. And it's really remarkable when you think about it, how this population that's masquerading as homosexual but is really just perverse and satanic, and that's what it is, whether they're consciously satanic or unconsciously satanic, the satanic harmony is disharmony. It's discordance with nature. So let me recap, because I don't want to be called a bigot. Homosexuality is natural in its frequency, in its occurrence, which is about 1%. When you're living in a society with levels of aberrant sexual behavior up around 20, 25, 30, 35%, something has gone wrong. The chemicals in our food have certainly contributed to this. Many things have contributed to this. I'm not saying, we're pantomiming Alex Jones here. They're making the frogs gay. But there's been an environmental initiative to induce homosexuality. There's the ideology of androgyny is prevalent everywhere now. inducing people, the way people are induced to become a white person and then vehemently criticize the white people, even though they don't realize at a psychological level they're self-chastising. That's how stupid and myopic they are. And it's the same thing with this sexual culture. But that's not my point. My point is, have you noticed how many of them are in positions of power? Catamite parade. But I only did politicians on that podcast. Now I'm realizing that at the forefront of this techno transformation, there is an army, like not 100%, but close to 100% of the leaders in this field. You know, the Palantir guy, Sam Altman, so many of them. And they're unrhythmic and unbeautiful poets like Yuval Noah Harari. They're all catamites, or sodomites if they're more aggressive. But they're all addicted to this inversion of sexual expression as nature intended. I suppose at a deeper level you could be sympathetic and say this is a natural psychological response to the human condition, trying to break out of the human condition. But what are Satan and Lucifer always trying to do? Mythologically. But mythos becomes literal. Mythologically, what are they trying to do? They're trying to undermine the natural nature of the Creator. You see? So everything that's going on now in the world is being driven by these very perverse sodomites and catamites who are not gay. Okay? They're not gay. They are, in fact, part of the fabric of the chrysalis we're living in, that we're breaking out of. Now, the most important concept to remember as I close out tonight's podcast is that as you come to consciousness of these things, don't become angry. Just see it as a grand folly of misunderstanding and human experimentation and human vanity, and forgive it, and say to yourself the truth. There but for the grace of God go I. Tell yourself the truth. Don't lie to yourself. So what? These people have been practicing black magic for centuries. Money is a magical system. They gamed us all. So what? You're alive, you're breathing. What did you learn from it? What did your time in the chrysalis of money teach you? Because you've been in it for a while, not just this lifetime. You've certainly had 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 lifetimes inside this modern money system, beginning in 1698. What have you learned? Everybody's just acting down here. Shakespeare was right. The whole world is a stage, and we're but actors upon it. Some people have to play the villain. What is the drama teaching you? And don't react, because when you react, you get entangled in their causal contract. You become a debtor in the collective nonsense, which is the social contract and the straw man and the tax system. But don't do it at an ideological level. I see some very intelligent Christian people making this mistake now. It's unfortunate that Christianity can't climb out of the duality that produces anger. And it does. You know? Righteous anger. There's no such thing as righteous anger. Anger is anger. Right? So we got gamed. We got kowtowed into saying maybe the proliferation of androgyny and perverse sexuality that's not homosexuality wasn't good for society. Right? As I said last night or the night before, take a look at the Milo Yiannopoulos interview with Tucker Carlson. He's the gay whistleblower. He's telling you what's really going on in that society. I'm Bruce McDonald. This has been the Talamanca Review.